Hello, my name's Stuart, Unrepentant Atheist. So today I'm going to be doing a bit of reading from the Bible, Holy Bible, New International Version. I know that some of you don't like this version, some of you prefer the King James Bible and various other editions, but this is the one I've got. There's no antiquated language or anything, it's just fairly straightforward English, which in a way takes away from the kind of charm of the sort of charm of it. I must get a King James Bible actually, because I do like the language in it, but nevertheless. So Deuteronomy, the fifth book of the Torah, the fifth book of the Christian Old Testament, narrated by Moses, who is delivering various laws and instructions to the Jews, I believe before they enter the Promised Land. So today we're going to be looking at Deuteronomy chapter 20, which is about going to war. We're going to be looking at chapter 21, a rebellious son, how to deal with a rebellious son, and God's decree on cross-dressers. I'll come to that. We're going to finish on that one. So going to war. So we're going to start reading at verse 10. When you march up to attack a city, make its people an offer of peace, which seems reasonable, though why would they attack the city? Well, that's another question. If they accept and open their gates, all the people in it shall be subject to forced labor and shall work for you. So I see. So if they accept, so in return for not being attacked and killed, they're to become slaves. Well, I suppose that's not a bad deal. I'd probably rather be a slave than be dead, but if they refuse to make peace and they engage you in battle, lay siege to that city. When the Lord your God delivers it unto your hand, put to the sword all the men in it. Yeah, you see, that's the alternative. So it's either slavery or death. As for the women, the children, the livestock, and everything else in the city, you may take these as plunder for yourselves. And you may use the plunder the Lord your God gives you from your enemies. This is how you are to treat all the cities that are at a distance from you and do not belong to the nations nearby. I think I can see what he's saying there, because obviously the nations nearby, ideally the Jews won't want to be at war with them, but if they go beyond, they can more or less do what they want with distant nations, because probably there's less chance of counterattack. You don't want to upset your neighbors, but it's okay to do these things if you can go far enough away from your own home where you won't have to be getting into war with anybody. So it's a bit like what the Vikings were doing, wasn't it, really? They were coming out of Scandinavia, what is Scandinavia today, and they were coming to the Irish shores, Scotland and England. They were plundering and killing and raping, pillaging. But they weren't doing these things to their neighbours, which would obviously be unwise, because then they would be getting into wars with tribes near to them, which would be a problem for the settlements. So I can see that this is good advice that Moses is relating from God. Yeah, I can see that. Very good advice. As for all the raping and killing and the enslavement, well, I'm realistic enough, and I understand enough about ancient history, all the way really to medieval times, that nations had got to be strong. They had to expand. They had to be ruthless. Otherwise, they would be destroyed and they would be enslaved. And we see that with the Romans, they were so strong, they basically destroyed everybody. They either destroyed or they enslaved. And they were very successful. They were the strongest. And it's clear to me that okay, we all know this is not coming from a God. These are just very prudent rules and advice, instructions for any nation or tribe that wants to survive in those times. But obviously it is brutal, and one would expect that. What one wouldn't expect is this kind of instruction to come from an enlightened or loving God. So, but it's completely consistent with the God of the Old Testament, which is quite obviously a creation of man. So, okay. Oh yes, however, let's just go on. Verse 16, in the cities of the nations the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them. The Hittites, the Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites and Jebusites. Some of those I've never even heard of. It just shows my knowledge of those times is a bit incomplete, to say the least. I need to do some reading to understand more of what's going on here. Otherwise they will teach you to follow all the detestable things they do in worshipping their gods, and you will sin against the Lord your God. This is coming back to the theme of God's jealousy and need for exclusivity. He doesn't want any competition from competing gods. Okay, so just to move on then from that, a rebellious son, verse 18. If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of his town are to stone him to death. You must purge the evil from among you. All Israel will hear of it and be afraid. Well, this is more fairly solid advice. And if you think about, for example, Sparta, why they were such a formidable city-state, why they defeated armies several times their size, is that they had tremendous discipline. And I believe that if any boy was born with any kind of ailment, or he looked weak or anything like that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that in ancient Sparta they would kill these children, they would kill these boys, because they needed to have a warrior population in order to be strong, in order to protect themselves from all the hostility that was around. They needed to have able, fit young men to train and fight, and any weakness or any kind of lack of discipline would be punished. And people like the son who is described here, a drunkard and a glutton, there would be no room in a nation state like Sparta for somebody of that description. They would probably be exiled or executed or whatever, because they had to be strong. So yeah, I understand all this. It sounds, I know that this passage is often cited, but it makes complete sense to me. It is brutal, of course, but we're talking about the context of those times. And again, it's just more evidence to me that this is not, the Old Testament was not narrated to, has got no divine inspiration. I don't believe there's a God in any of this. It's just really pragmatic advice for people living in really brutal times when there was hostility all around. Of course, I understand that. And don't come back to me and say, oh, Stuart, it's all figurative, it's metaphor, and, you know, why are you taking the Bible literally? No, this is actually solid, practical, real-world advice. It's not figurative, it is literal. Of course it is. I'm not saying that all of the Old Testament is literal. No, it's not. A lot of it is figurative, allegory, and all the rest of it. But no, this is actually pragmatic, good, sound advice and instruction for those times on how to have a strong society capable of defending itself and expanding and being successful. There is one here which I do find a bit strange. Yeah, coming on to the cross-dressing thing. We know that cross-dressing, well, we know what cross-dressing is. It's when a man dresses as a woman for sexual gratification, and when a woman, well, okay, I don't think there are so many women possibly that dress as men for sexual gratification. I think probably it's the other way around, but in any case, maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. So here we are, chapter 22, verse 5. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing, for the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. So there we have it. So all those cross-dressers out there, all those men who are dressing as women, and goodness knows what they want, but anyway, it's their business. I'm for sexual freedom of expression, so it doesn't matter to me, but it does matter to God. No more cross-dressing, otherwise God will detest you. So if you're a cross-dresser and you're a Christian, you need to come to Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5, read it and learn. Put back your own clothes, put away the skirts, put away the fishnet stockings and suspenders, and burn them, and wear men's clothes. Otherwise you'll be detested by God. You'll have absolutely no chance of getting into heaven. Okay, honestly, I'm not making a mockery of this. I'm just reading it as I find it and trying to make some sense of it. What do you think of today's Bible reading and some of the comments I've made and some of the content? Do you have any feedback on it? So that's all for now. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thanks for watching.